I flew to Austria. He picked me up and dumped me into a monastery with Benedictine monks. So there I was standing at the front door with my suitcase, and I ended up spending like 8 months there.
Wow.
And that's where I recovered.
How do you build a network, run a profitable business, and make an impact? Oh, and have a personal life at the same time? That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, husband, father of 5, author of the book 5+1, president and co-founder of Master Networks, Inc., a national networking organization. Look, each week I bring you successful entrepreneurs who will share success strategies of how to effectively build a network, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
All right, everybody, welcome to Connect, Share, Prosper. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson. Today, I am so excited. We're going to listen to some tremendous wisdom, and there's some cool things that our guest is going to share with you. I just think he's truly fascinating as I've gotten to learn about him and get to know him, and you're going to get to know him today. My guest today, Steven Kuhn. He is married, father of 2. This is cool. We were just talking about this. I saw this on my sheet, and I had to double check. You currently live in Budapest, Hungary, and it is 7 p.m. in Budapest. I asked, because everyone's going to ask, what time is it in Budapest? It's
right.
7 p.m. He's a military vet, and we're going to hear your story. So welcome, Steven, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And yes, I love putting podcasts at 7 p.m. because it's bath time for the kids, and I get to dodge that bullet.
Yeah. It's not going to be like that one. What was that podcast years ago where, like, the head of state or something, he's in there and the little kid walks in the background and like,
that happens all the time. That happens all the time. I love it. I love it.
They're trying to pull out the door.
That's part of the life enterprise system that I live. Everything's one. So when they come in, I introduce them, they talk, they go, everything's cool.
No, I'm with you. So, hey, so how did you end up in Budapest? Let's start there.
Well, I came to Europe in the military back in 1986, actually. I'm 52, so, it's been a while. And I ended up spending 8 years in the military, went to Iraq, got out, and stayed in Europe. So I got out in Europe. And I lived in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, UK, Spain, Portugal, Czech Republic, Poland. And then I moved here. When I moved here, actually I came for a 3-month contract to turn a business around, which is basically what I did for 20 years. And I walked in the front door, and on my first day in Budapest, the first day in the business, the first person I saw, I married her.
Yeah.
The most beautiful woman I ever saw. It was 10 years ago, and we're here. It's fired up more than ever. Kids are happy. Everything's cool. We got a house. Everything's how it should be. It's a beautiful, beautiful person.
That's wonderful, Steven. I want to start with something here that I read about you. So, and the reason why I want to start here is because we have a lot of our audience and people watching this are entrepreneurs, a lot of solopreneurs. A single mom, a husband and wife that are just trying to get this business. You talked about turning businesses around, but that happened for you as well, right? Because you had to file bankruptcy and change some things in your life. So walk us through that period of time and how did you end up there?
Oh, well, it was twice actually. So,
well, I mean,
I got out of the military, went into the doorman business because I was in armor. It was on tanks. So what else you can do? So I went into the doorman business in Berlin, Germany, was good at it, opened my own bars and clubs, got pretty good at that. But then one of the members recruited me, said, hey, one of the guests said, hey, could you come help me move this company from South Africa to Germany? And I was asking myself, why the heck's he asking me? But he said, because of the execution I've had of my businesses before, I don't have to have the knowledge. So I said, all right, whatever. So I did it and we killed it. We just completely massacred it. It was amazing. And that led me on a very, 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 very rapid ascension of the ladder, so to say. So within 3 years, of director of Europe for 3,500 people under me, it was just completely overwhelming. But I thought I was where I was supposed to be. Had the black Amex and the big BMW and that kind of stuff. And then, and I came back from Chicago on a trip one time, lost everything, like literally overnight, everything. Everything crashed completely. But at that
happened? I mean, what happened? You go to Chicago, and then how do you lose it all?
Well, I went to Chicago on business, and my ex-wife, found solace in another person, and it just something really bad happened with them. I won't go into that.
Sure.
And then the company that I was in Chicago for, that I had just built a joint venture with, dissolved because there was a hostile takeover of the board on both ends. So they dissolved the entire directorship. And then there was an investment that I had that popped and went bad. So I literally lost everything within like a day. It was a week, but it felt like a day.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, but I didn't see the signs. I thought, okay, recover. So I wrote a book. Because figure what else am I going to do, right? I didn't have any money and didn't really, I don't know, I wasn't really motivated to go back into that world again right away. So I wrote a book. And just so happens I wrote that book, took 2 weeks. 2 weeks later it was a bestseller, and I went on a year-long book tour. And I did TV every day for a year, just in Germany, in the German-speaking countries, because I do speak German like a German. And so I recovered from that, and I got back into that same business again, and I climbed the ladder again, and I was going up, and yada, yada, yada. And then it all came crashing down. I just couldn't hold on anymore. Apparently, I had PTSD pretty bad. Didn't know it.
Okay.
And just went nuts. Held the gun to my head. A police officer's gun to my head. And in Germany, and just said, I can't do this anymore. They stopped me. Anyway, I ended up at home. Called a friend. Either you get me out of here, or I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
Wow.
And he picked me up. I flew to Austria. He picked me up and dumped me into and literally dumped, like, get out, go. There it is. Into a monastery with Benedictine monks who meditate and chant. So there I was standing at the front door with my suitcase, like, just someone showing up. And I ended up spending like 8 months there.
Wow.
And that's where I recovered.
Yeah. So you're at this heavy moment for the second time. You said you lost everything. You're
right
at this place where you're trying to figure everything out, right? You're even thinking this is the only answer to escape this, and you have a friend that helps you out, and you go live with these monks, and you said you spent 8 months there.
Yeah.
What was the one thing that like changed for you during that time? Like, what changed for you?
I think on the societal side, it was very clear. When I left, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't pay my bills. I didn't do anything. I didn't pay nothing. I didn't pay anything. I just left, had no cell phone, no laptop, no nothing. When I came back, it wasn't that bad. It was like I just called them up. Oh, I was sick. Okay, let's fix this. Done.
Yeah.
So the pressures that we have from the outside world, from financial world, from credit cards, from banks, and all this kind of, it's them trying to leverage your emotions. Don't fall prey to that. Don't fall prey to that. They can't put you in jail for not paying your bills. They can maybe take the truck car or whatever it is you financed, but that's not as important as life and living the life, life as you please. So, and not in a bad way, obviously, but living life on your terms. So that was the main thing that I learned. That, man, look at that. I walked away from everything that I was supposed to be paying and working for and doing, and nothing even happened. Like nothing. 8 months. Just imagine going off grid for 8 months and then not telling anybody. Wow. It was fine. Second thing I learned is that until you completely, 100% accept, love, cherish, admire yourself, by yourself, true love is but a fleeting wish. And true love with yourself is what I found with myself, is what I found in the monastery most of all. And that empowers you to be the most powerful business person, husband, man, woman, partner, person, human being, because you depend on no one or no thing for your happiness. And that's the biggest mistake that I see in business. It's the biggest mistake. You hire somebody, okay, he's going to do the job. No, it's your responsibility. Right? Or, oh, I married the one girl of my dreams. She makes me so happy. Well, I hope not, because that's going to be a failing combination. You need to be happy with yourself first. They need to be happy with themselves. And you have the perfect relationship. Same with your business. Same with your business partners.
So what I hear you saying is no one person or no one thing makes you have to control your own happiness. And especially if you do, then you can help others, right? If you're dependent on them, how do you help anyone else?
And that's key. Exactly. You said it. I love it. I call it elevation, right? So I call it the life enterprise system. We're CEOs of our own life enterprise. Much like CEOs of a business, we answer to the stakeholders. The stakeholders in our life are anybody in our life, family, friends, people, anybody around.
Yeah.
What does the CEO do to the stakeholders? He talks to them. He converses with them, makes them feel great, elevates them. So me, as a CEO of my own life enterprise, I like to use that model, is when I meet anybody, I don't care if it's the post lady or my wife or whoever, I ensure, and this is key, I ensure that every time I walk away from them, they're in a better place than when I approached them. And this creates magic everywhere you go. And I mean real, honest to God, magic of things appearing out of thin air.
Can you give me an example? Like, so I hear what you're saying, leave them in a better place. Like, is there a strategy to that you use? Is there a tip you use? Like, is there a model to that? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's go to the classic business networking event, right?
Which is what we do, right?
Right, exactly. So what do? You walk in, First thing I do, I walk around the entire room, shake everybody's hands if they're not in the middle of a conversation or blocked. Hey, hello, Steven Kuhn. How you doing? I don't stop. I don't talk to him. I just walk around and say, hey, doing Steven Kuhn. Nice to meet you. Great. Oh, I love your glasses. I love glasses too. And just little things like that that truly, really that I notice. So it's not some fake sort of, bravado or whatever. So walking around, you do that, and then you eventually get into a conversation with somebody. And then what you do is when you talk to these people, you have your PPR ready, your problem product resolution, your elevator pitch, people call it. It should take maximum 10 seconds. And then you just ask them a question again. You listen, and hear. Add value, listen, hear, add value. The only intention that you should have at a networking event, if you want to be the one that everybody goes for, the only intention you have is to be wholly and fully present for that person that's right in front of you and to add value. No other intention, no other expectations, no preconceived notions, no cookie cutter solutions. You're there for them at that very moment. And even if it takes 3 minutes, you just gave them value, created space for them. That's what I call it, creating a space, a neutral space where they can step in and they find their own greatness because you two together create a thing, everyone calls the mastermind. So even in a 2 to 3 minute conversation, when you're freed up and you have no intentions except for value, you would be surprised at the explosions that happen, the contacts that happen, the business opportunities that open up. It's just ridiculous. So let me give you a true example of how I do this. So I spoke at an event in San Diego. It was a 3-day event. Jocko Willink was there. I opened the event. Tim Kennedy was there. All veterans, military, things like that. And they asked me to open the conference. So David Hasselhoff was there too, which was funny. But Hoffmeister, yeah. So I did my speech, and what most speakers did is they went back into the speaker's room, right? And they sort of hung out there and drank their VIP coffee and donuts and things like that. Yep. Well, I don't. Right. I go to the vendors. I go to the vendors room. So there's about, 35 vendors there. And I go to every table and say, hey, how you doing? How can I add value today? What's your number one business challenge? And, introduce myself and they go, wow, okay, what? And I literally solve it for them right then and there. I'll say, look, call this guy, tell him Steve sent you, or I'll say, look, just do this and that, or hey, I'll write you this or whatever. And I literally go through the entire vendors room and help every single one of them. Who do you think they're talking about at the end of that conference?
Yeah.
One of the 25 speakers or the guy that helped them?
Yeah. So thank you for that. What an awesome tip, guys. You're listening to Steven Kuhn here on Connect, Share, Prosper. And you kind of answered the question I was going to, but I want you to just think maybe a little bit deeper on this, how you can help somebody. Because what about those that would say, yeah, but Steven, what do you get out of that, right? So you're spending all this time, right? What do you get out of that? You're spending time with these vendors, which I think is a great thing. I love doing that too. I also, I don't know about you as a speaker, but I like to connect with the audience because it makes me feel like I'm with them, that I'm speaking to them. So I get that piece. But what a brilliant thing to go out to the vendors and start asking them what their challenge is and how you can help solve that. But Steven, to those that say, what do you get from that? Why would you do that?
That's investing in relational capital. Just like financial capital, you get a return. But this return in financial capital isn't guaranteed. Return in relational capital is 100% guaranteed. It's the most secure investment you'll ever had. But here's the key. No expectation from the person that you just helped. The expectation comes from the law of reciprocity. You give what you have of knowledge, of love, whatever it is you have, and you receive back what you don't have. Now, I went to that conference. I talked to all those vendors. One of them called me, but I got 3 other people who saw me and heard someone talking about me doing that came to me. So you see, it's not always the person you help. And this is where pressure comes in. This is where when you get into sales and the marketing, I'm going to give you some information and I want tit for tat, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Just drop that right now. If you want to be the star hero of your own world and your own life, always add value. Show up for that person wholly and fully in that very moment. I call it the HIT principles. So honesty, integrity, and transparency. I'm honest with myself about who I am. Honesty, integrity, the HIT principles. Some people call me the Hitman online because that's we have the Hitpreneur book coming out as well. And HIT is basically building your life around the core principles of honesty, integrity, and transparency. And what that means is honesty with yourself, who you are, why you do what you do, and your identity. Transparency is how you communicate that to the world, which I spoke about a little bit. And the integrity is the byproduct. So when you're honest with who you are, why you do what you do, and you're completely clear about your identity, and then you communicate that in the way that is actually clear and honest, then you're automatically in the level of integrity that most people aren't, because they're trying to be somebody, they're trying to close, they're trying to sell, they're trying to pitch. There's always a thing. So when you show up with no expectation, and that's key. If there's one thing I would tell all the listeners, learn the following thing. Either you have zero expectation, and I mean in business life and general relationships, or you verbalize that. Very clear expectation. So there's no letdown. And I promise you, suddenly you're not worrying about what mom thinks. You're not worrying about what the wife thinks. You're not worrying about what the husband or the daughter. Why? Because you're operating from the core principle of HIT. And it's always clear. It's always coming from the place of honesty. No worries.
So you're working on a book. You said when's
3 books.
3 books. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's all based on the one thing. The thing that I always say at the end of every one of my lives. Now, I've started doing lives 19 months ago when I went online for the first time. And at the end of everything, look, my whole life, everything that I do is for one thing, and that is quality of life.
Yes.
That's the end goal for everyone. Now, that means something different to everyone. But this is the overview of everything that I talk about is quality of life. This is what my goal is. And quality of life to me personally means working maybe 3 hours a day, spending the whole day with my wife and my kids, having a home office, not traveling anymore, speaking when I want to, going to travel when I want to, on my terms and my dictation, and earning some really good money.
That's right.
But here's the trick. And I just heard this from an amazing guy named Mac Lackey today. He put it in perfect words. He said, many people earn money, a lot of money, and then live the life of the entrepreneur that works 4 hours a day. But I've been doing it my whole life, and you've been doing it your whole life. And it's like we've always lived that life. We've always made the priorities living life first. Because when you get life right, when you have quality of life, revenue, money, earnings is the outcome of getting it right. That balance.
Yes. Yes, so good. By the way, we were joking before we started about the lawnmower guy. He just showed up. He's out here. I tell you, for those of you who watch this show every week, you guys know I make reference to this, and so we have to look at the time we do this because it's always the.
There's a guy downstairs going, he's on, he's live, he's live.
They subscribe to the show. They subscribe to the show, and just when we go live, they show up with the leaf blower. Okay, so I want to share something though, or I want you to give me some. I know you help businesses, you turn them around, you all that. So maybe you could give me and my audience, you give me a little coaching, if you will, on this, because I find myself, to what you said, I find myself every once in a while getting a little frustrated when you said it's sort of that, this for that kind of concept, right? I'm giving, and I feel like our team does that. People will call us up, and maybe it's the basis. Maybe I'm going to solve my own problem here, but someone will call us up and say, hey, we'd like to promote you guys, and then we'd like you to promote us, kind of thing, right? And that happens on occasion. Right. Influencers or whatever it is. And I find sometimes that we go into it and we just go all in and we support, we promote, we do all this stuff. And then often the person we do this with doesn't do what they agreed to. In fact, many times that's happened. Yep. And I find myself every once in a while getting a little frustrated or disgruntled by that and a little hesitant to get into those kinds of things. And yet I feel like I'm always doing it for the right reason. So what would you say to me? And I'm sure there's people listening who've had a similar thing where it feels like, boy, I do this all the time, but where and when can it come back and how?
Well, giving doesn't mean giving everything. Giving freely means adding value in that moment. And when you add value in a moment, that means impactful in that very moment for them to take away and work on. That doesn't mean to give everything for free. This is how I work, real simple. I will give you what I have off the top of my head from my intuition. I have an uncanny ability to see the problems in business like immediately and finding money from dormant revenue. So basically uncovering dormant revenue. But if you ask me for a specific solution, you say, I'm looking to do this with this kind of result, then you're paying. Simple as that. So it's simple. If you say, hey, I'd like to meet somebody who, hey, Steve, do you know somebody? Yeah, sure. Call this guy. Tell him Steve sent you. But if you say, I need someone to raise 20, or maybe I need a partner, I need a distributor partner, or I need an investor, then you're paying. Simple as that. But it's key that first part of the relationship is value add. And value add is like, yeah, sure, Joe, I'll hook you up with the influencer so-and-so. It's up to you to then make the deal, right? See you later.
I got
you. So you don't go all in until they go all in. And of course, verbalizing the expectation is key as well, right?
Yeah.
But the number one thing that I can tell any entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it is, and I'm by no means the guru, but the one thing that I have been able to create in my life is a complete 100% freedom. I don't have to do business with people. I don't need to do business with businesses. I don't need to go here or need to go there. And even back in the day, I didn't need to. Society told me I had to, so that's what we believe, right? So the one thing is always, when you're adding value, it's about providing solutions for them. It's about providing solutions. Real truths where they go, oh my, yeah, of course. and you get that, you can walk away. They're coming back. I promise you. They're going to follow you. They're going to find you.
It's not what you're saying is not just the clever statement. It's an actual solution that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a solution. Number one. Number two, you have to care. If you don't care about that person's business and that person in front of you about adding value and quality of life, then don't even try, because you're going to come across as disingenuous and goofy.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I literally care for everybody that I meet in my life enterprise because they're my stakeholders. They make me who I am. Quick story. I was at my 50th birthday party 2 years ago on a boat here in Budapest. My wife set up this amazing party, invited 50 friends for my 50 years. And I'm standing there. I'm getting ready to give my speech, right? And I look across and I get tears in my eyes and I go, holy shit, I'm only here because of these 50 people. Every single one of these people around here brought me to where I am. And that's where I almost fell to my knees and said, man, they're my stakeholders.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? How powerful that is? Think about that for a second. Every interaction we have with somebody leads us on a path to our greatness. It's incredible.
I often say you're one relationship away from changing your future, and then magnify that. You got to multiply that by 50. And to see it come together, like that's the part. You had the awareness to see, hey, most people would say, hey, this is cool. I got 50 people that are close to me. I'm at this party. You saw it as, I'm the sum total of these 50 people, and look at the impact it's made in my life. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was powerful. Of course, everybody had tears in their eyes, and it was a powerful moment for me. And since then, I really preach that. I preach that life enterprise. I preach that, stakeholders in your life are the most important thing that you can invest in. Invest in relational capital.
Yeah. Well, you're speaking our language for sure. Guys, you're listening to Steven Kuhn here on Connect, Share, Prosper. If you're live with us on Facebook, go ahead and drop a question in. We'll keep an eye on those. If you have a question, a lot of people loved you talking about finding solutions. Providing solutions is always a pleasure. Always a pleasure hearing this mentality or this mindset. Yes, finding solutions for people. That really resonated with people. You could find solutions for them. Let me ask you a question while some are coming in. I have a thought on this. So, is there a time in business? I mean, you mentioned 52. You're 52, and when I was reading about you, it talked about that you filed for bankruptcy. Around 40 years old, somewhere around there. Okay. In the grand scheme of things, 12 years is not a long time.
No.
And I think sometimes for us, we look at things where we are in the moment. It's so heavy, like you talked about where you were at. And that's a heaviness that's tough. That's really, really there. 12 years to turn around where you are. What would you say in that 12 years is the proudest moment, especially in business? What's like the proudest thing or the thing you're most proud about?
Honestly, I think, and this is a question I've never had before, so I really appreciate it. I think it was the moment where I broke free of what I thought I should be doing in business and actually did what I was supposed to do, what I was meant to do. And that was create a culture in my teams that were just so incredible that to this day, my teams are my best friends. They come to my wedding. We go to their weddings, the birthdays, parties, births, showers, everything. I have a group of friends that were in my last companies that I actually ran, brick and mortar, that are just godly to me because I decided to go all in. And we did, daily meetings at 2 p.m. And it was called the huddle. And everyone had, 3 minutes to present their thing and then present their numbers. And after that, it was all about cohesion. It was all about trust. It was all about integrity. It was all about love. It was all about joy. We did Tai Chi. We did Qigong. We did, just 5 minutes of it. We went out and talked to strangers on the streets and just elevated them and made them feel fantastic. And what this did not only brought us together as a team, but it showed us that we have compassion for the world around us. And this is where it's key when you say it's a horrible world, is that we often look all the way to the top politicians and say, man, we need to change that. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Just change the world you live in.
Correct.
Change your house, then your neighborhood, then your city, then your county. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how you make change. No one jumps up and becomes, overnight the guy or the girl, the gal who does everything.
Yeah.
So
right.
What kind of impact can you have in your life right now? And the impact, the most amazing impact you can have is elevating others, enlightenment, stakeholders, life enterprise, HIT. It's all part of that whole process.
So I'm gonna ask you right now. So I'm writing a book called Impact.
Really? Awesome.
Becoming a person of positive influence, right? We're working on that book right now. I'm just going to ask you publicly and put you on the spot. I want to interview you, and I'd love to get some of your input on that book because you're speaking exactly at such a high level of how to elevate people and make an impact. So I'm just throwing that out there right now. I'd love to.
I'm in.
Thank you.
I'm in. I have to tell you about my partner. I have a partner, Lane Balone. He's 30. He's a millennial, so it's great. We have that balance.
Yeah.
He's a Special Forces Green Beret veteran. Just got out about 2 years ago, and the guy's like uber enlightened. So we're combining our efforts to actually dig deeper. So he comes in with that high performance mindset, and then the identity part, and then I come in with sort of the other, and then we come out together, quality of life together. So you might want to talk to him too if you're into that.
Yeah, would love to. Look at that. We're already making connections. I love that.
Oh yeah.
So we've got a couple questions here. I also got, this is good. Keep going. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate that. Mike Forrest in Missouri says, what are your thoughts on the free offer? So I think he's going back to when we were talking about, helping people. And I think you kind of answered that because you do that a lot, but so forth.
Yeah, but you can't see it as free or paid. You don't. You step up to, look, when I say creating space, this is so key for anybody who wants to do this. Creating space means walking up to a person, standing there wholly and fully with no preconceived notions, solutions, or cookie cutter answers. That means you don't have a free offer.
Yes.
You can't, because that's preconceived, right? So you step up completely blank. Your only intention is to give value and elevate. So when you step up there and they step into your space, you create that mastermind. It's a third entity that creates answers that you otherwise alone would never have come up with. And it works. That's why it's called the mastermind.
That's right.
Napoleon Hill wrote about it back in the 1920s.
Yeah.
So, and that's where that mastermind, that's where the word comes from. So you have to trust in yourself, number one, that you can do that and not have any preconceived notions and not have any, I have to close a sale, or I got to look good, or what am I supposed to say? And that's why you got to practice your pitch, problem, product, resolution. I'll steal that from Brand Story, Donald Miller. What's the problem that you're addressing? What's the product that solves it? And what's the resolution?
Yeah.
Right? That's it. And you say it like this. So if you ask me, hey, Steve, what do you do? Well, you know how business leaders all have the same issue about teaching their teams to say the right thing when they go out on the street or whatever. You're like, yeah, I know. I hate that because everyone says something different. It's like a whole different, like a Chinese fire drill they call, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, well, we have a training program that actually addresses that, stops it. And in the end, everyone says the same thing, therefore increasing sales exponentially. That's all I say. That's it. I'm done. And then I go back to you and say, boom. So you always ask it in a question. If someone says, what do? You say, do you know how this and this happens? Well, we have a product that solves it, and this is what happens when we solve it. PPR, problem, product, resolution. That's all you say in a networking event. Everything else is questions, listening, hearing, adding value, giving solutions, being truly honest. If you're not interested in the person in front of you, say, hey, I'm going to go get a drink. You want something? And they'll typically say no, and you just walk away and go somewhere else. Right? And you go with somebody who you're really interested in.
By the way, I just thought, and this is my opinion, I've already got like a full page of notes here, but I think the biggest, well, I shouldn't say that because you had so much good stuff here. But one of the things you just said that really struck me was when someone says, what do you do? Which, again, we're in the middle of talking about this in impact. What you do and who you are often can be two different things. Like, right, if people say, oh, I'm a chiropractor. You're not, that's what you do, but it's not who you are, right? You are part of that. But when someone says, what do you do? And you said, answer it with a question. Do you know how to? I love that. I've not heard that before. Do you know how to, whatever it is, and then you become that resolution to that.
Right.
And it gets engagement of like, oh, I'm an insurance agent. Oh, well, okay.
Well, it pulls them into the conversation because who wants, you know what, you know how the elevator pitch is. Well, you know what I do, real estate.
Yeah, right.
They don't, and then they're looking over your shoulder like, who's next? Because they don't want to hear it.
Right. So
you have to involve them in the conversation. So do you know how, when this happens? And he goes, yeah, man, I know. Especially if, for instance, you're talking to the person and you know what they do, you can tailor that question to their industry.
Yes. So good.
Yeah. So you say, you know how in your industry, the IT guys are always like, you can never get a hold of them and this, that, and the other. Well, we've created a platform that actually makes it impossible for them to be absent. And the outcome is that you have a 38% higher rate of whatever, repairs or whatever.
Yes.
He's like, dude, I need that. And you're like, well, good. So you said, it's like you just go back.
Yeah.
Don't ever go like this. Oh, you need that? Okay, here's my card. Don't ever do that. I don't even bring cards.
Yeah.
I don't nothing. I bring a pen.
I don't even have a card. I have a digital card, but I don't have a paper card. I don't
do that.
Ever. So
people are like, here's my card. I'm like, no, just write it down. Write it down. Because I'll use that for notes and I'll forget who it was about. I said, no, I'm just being honest, transparency.
Exactly. So you mentioned something a while back, and I just want to go back to this because again, I've got so many notes, so we could do this for hours. I love your mindset. you said something about your team, and you pivoted, if you will. You went against what everyone said and how you're supposed to act. And first of all, how did that come about? Like, how did you go, oh, this is how I should treat? Because just looking at who's watching, we have some people here who I'm familiar with that are on this watching, who run part of our organization in other states, right? And they're working with teams and leaders of chapters, of networking chapters. And so there's conventional wisdom that says this is how you should treat somebody, or this is what we're taught how you should treat in a business setting. What made you shift that? Like, what was the awakening you had?
Yeah. Well, I went to the monastery, and I know that, when I was in the monastery, I found out that true happiness comes from within. We dictate everything from the inside out. That means that any action from the outside cannot dictate my reaction from my inside. So if you make me mad, then I yell at you. I'm your slave. So if I realize that, that's the first thing I got it. Okay. I choose how to react. I choose 100% how to react to anything in my life. And when you have that power, oh my God, it's amazing. So the other thing that shifted is that I loved being with myself, and I love sharing that I found that. Right. So I loved the fact that I could be so comfortable with myself. So I love sharing that. And I taught people in my business through mentoring my entire staff, one-on-one meetings and in group meetings, to work together with each other, and then they'd have co-teams. So basically every week you'd switch. You'd have a partner, and then you'd switch the next week with another partner, And you wouldn't talk about business. You talk about care, credo, love, HIT, and self-leadership, all these things that matter to you. Yes. And that make you love yourself, and that make you proud of yourself. If you want to create an unbeatable culture, you teach your team how to open up and love themselves first in a business environment. And I'll tell you what, you won't beat that team. It doesn't matter where you go. Of course, we can talk about, 36 calls, 8 appointments, 4 sales, 2 leads. And you can do all that all day long, but that's a process. That's a robot, right? Human beings connect to human beings. Every business is run by a human being. So somewhere along the way, you can't avoid talking to somebody sooner or later. So if you care for them truly, like our credo was, I care for myself, or I inspire myself, I inspire my team, I inspire my members, and I inspire the world around me. That was our credo every single day. Yeah. And then we did we actually found out, we actually created the Tai Chi movements to that. I inspire myself, I inspire my team, I inspire, like that. It was amazing. And everyone, so at the credo moment, just real quick, I think I had 45 people in each location. So in the location, every 45 days you were up. It was your turn to come up with a credo moment. So you had to come up with that amazing thing that people went through. Was it Tai Chi, Qigong? It was, the falling backwards thing. It was someone came one time and said, okay, 3 groups. You're in a plane crash in Siberia. You have a bottle of whiskey, 2 bullets, a gun. What do you do? And it was just incredible.
Oh, that's clever.
We lived for those 2 p.m. meetings. That was like the key. Matter of fact, it got to be so popular. The owners of the company had 87 locations. It was listed on the London stock market. Came and said, "What in the heck are you doing? Can you teach all other 87 locations how to do the same thing?" So I ended up training 3,500 people how to do that.
Wow, so good. I feel like there's a lot we could go on. So yes, human beings connect other human beings. That's something you said. Others, they're so excited that they're on the path of doing this right now. They're headed in the right direction. So Steven, a couple last things.
One quick.
Go ahead.
The point is, when you do this, when you go in, and I mean all in, you have to let go. What a lot of people do is they try to control it. The how it happens doesn't matter when you're certain that it will. So certainty is what I strive for in everything that I do, because as soon as I hit certainty, the how it's going to happen and what I got to do doesn't even matter, because I know I'm operating from HIT. I'm certain it's going to happen. I don't need to worry about how. And that how widens my horizon for me to see the 2 most important things for success, in my opinion, is luck and coincidence. Right. Because if I'm focused like this, I don't see luck. I don't see coincidence.
Yes.
Right.
Like when people say, "Oh, you wouldn't believe." No, I believe that happens because it happens all the time. Right.
Exactly.
You wouldn't believe who I met. No, I do believe it because that's what we do. I do believe it.
I love that.
Right?
I'm going to start using that. Actually, I do believe. Yes.
Yeah. Somebody said the other day, "You're not going to believe what happened." I said, "No, I probably will. Tell me." Because it happens all the time, right? Every time I have said to myself, or through meditation or prayer or whatever, I need to meet whatever. This is the kind of. It's always happens. They cross my path, and so then I quit saying, "God, I can't believe that," because I can't.
Well, and what do you do when you pray? You let go, right?
Yeah, you let go and you ask. Yeah.
It's the same thing. So it's the same thing in business. So when you meditate, when you pray, when you say your affirmations, whatever it is that you do, or you journal it, that's creating certainty. So I go like this. You have belief. That's an active act. Like I believe, I want to believe this is going to happen. Then you have faith. You're completely sure it's going to happen, but you're sort of like wondering, looking around the corner if it's coming. Then you have certainty. You don't even worry about it anymore.
Yes.
Boom. When you hit certainty, life changes forever.
Getting a lot of hearts today. Loving it, guys. Thank you so much for those. And any other questions? Let me ask you. I had a good question. Let me ask you this. There was something you said that I thought of. So let me look. Maybe it'll remind me here. Oh, human beings connected to other human beings. I talked about significance, right? The relationships are significant. So, like, who's been a really significant business influence? I mean, you talked about your wife. You said 10 years.
Right.
But who's like been a really significant influence for you in the business, personal development world like that?
Wow, there's so many. I work with a lot of mentors. So it's the one guy I met, Charles Oyster. He was a dentist living in Zurich, Switzerland when I met him. He was 83 years old, I think, 83 years old at the time. He had just started bodybuilding.
Wow.
So this guy lived, he was alive during the Second World War. He was in the cavalry, this kind of stuff. And it just blew me away to talk to this guy because his wisdom was so simple and so clear. And I think, nowadays we're so complicated. We're trying to get that self-help book number 565, behind you, trying to figure out what the key to life is. And he's like, look, challenge yourself always have short, mid, and long-term goals, and you'll live forever. And he did. He lived till 97 years old. Wow. Unfortunately, he was perfectly healthy. He died of pneumonia. Horrible. He was a world champion, masters at his age for like every discipline he ever tried out for. It was like he had like 15 gold medals. It was crazy. And so he's one of my biggest mentors. I work with a lot of European politicians. I don't say a lot, but a few very insightful and honest European politicians. And I've worked with Mick Jagger. I've worked with Olivia Newton-John. I've worked with Andrea Bocelli. It's just people like that where you learn. I mean, you're like fire hose learning.
Oh, yeah.
Because they do it like not even thinking about it. They're $500 million deal, that kind of stuff. Right. And that's where I learned to take the bull by the horns and work on deals. Like I worked with an Eastern European country with the prime minister on an infrastructure deal for $250 million. And it was just something that I came up with. It was my idea. It's like, what? Who's this guy?
Yeah.
But they took me seriously because I took me seriously, because I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of. So all of these things we talk about, connection, people connect with authenticity, and that word is overused. But you can't say it any other way. You can't say it any other way. If you love yourself, if you know who you are, your identity is clear, then you don't have to worry about people liking you. You don't have to worry about what they think. You don't have to worry about what they're going to say, because you're operating from HIT. You're operating from honesty, integrity, and transparency, and everything falls into place as it should. Some will walk away. Some might not like you, but most will be attracted to you. Those who don't like you see something in them that makes them typically not like you. You said something very, very key. Significance.
Yeah.
There's 6 essential human needs. You've probably heard of these from Chloe Medanis before. That's one of them, significance. And there's 2 ways to gain significance. 1, you do something that no one's done before or that someone's done before, you do it better. 2, put somebody down. So when you see all these people online putting people down, that's them trying to gain experience, trying to gain significance. I just thought that was funny. You mentioned one of the 6 essential.
God, so good. So Steven, as we wrap this, where can people find you? How can they connect with you? How does my audience say, hey, I want to stay in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way is my website, Steven-Kuhn, KUHN.com. But I do have, I have a free class. It's a long class, but it's how to scale and grow your business in 30 days or less. And that's really easy. It's StevenClass.com.
Steven
so
Class.
It's my name, StevenClass.com. And you can go, it's a long webinar, but I promise you're going to walk away with information on how you can grow and scale your business. No obligation to buy. No obligation to buy at all. And there's a freebie there as well. 8 ways for immediate impact revenue in your business, which I go to every speech I ever give, every talk I ever hold. I give away this free PDF. It's like everyone wants it. It's amazing. Yeah,
that's so good. And so guys, we'll make sure we put those in the show notes so everyone can access that webinar. So Steven, if you'll hang with me just for a second, I know you're late there. So
I have time, brother. I have time. Not a problem. We can stay on all night if you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to end the episode, guys. For those of you who are live on Facebook, stay with me. You can ask your questions directly to Steven. This has been another amazing episode of Connect, Share, Prosper. Steven, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely incredible.